What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's November 7th, election night, 2023. I'm Trey Crowder. That's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark? How you feeling over there?
Yeah, bud. Pretty good. It's election night and a bunch of city statewide elections off year stuff. Here in the United States, Dave Weigel, who writes for Semaphore, put out this handy guide to the narrative takeaways from tonight, however things go. They say the first way it goes is Republicans flip the Kentucky governorship and Virginia Senate, and the takeaway will be Biden must resign, the Democrats the new Whig Party, all dead. Number two, the Dem holds the Virginia Senate, but at Mississippi governorship goes to the runoff, in which case that's the end of MAGA. Socialism is here to stay. And the third is Dem holds the Kentucky governor and lose Virginia Senate. And that's America's a land of contrast. What are you going to do? So I don't know. But
yeah. What's your
some
call?
outlets, some outlets have already called the Kentucky governorship for Democrat Andy Beshear. So that's good. Last time I checked the vote totals, with 56% of the votes in, he's still leading 53 to 47. Daniel Cameron, get fucked. One of the most cynical operators, cover up Breonna Taylor's murder. I hate this guy. I hope he loses by a lot and leaves politics forever embarrassed. So that's an uplifting result so far if it holds. We'll check back in on it a little bit.
That's the only one we have so far, right? That's the only one of these elections that we're talking about that's been called at this point.
Mississippi's most populous county, with the largest black population, somehow ran out of ballots.
Yeah.
How does this keep happening? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always some shit like that. And it looks particularly egregious when it's like, a place that's 83% black or whatever, Seems like it's always that type of thing never happens in a white, predominantly white district or, just a super red one.
So we'll check on that a little bit, but I haven't seen any vote totals coming from that yet. There are lawyers running to the judge to keep polls open in whatever county Jackson's in. So we'll see how that goes a little bit. A couple things before we get to the show. We haven't talked about NFTs a little bit because everything collapsed, but there's still a few people holding out. Those Japanese soldiers that didn't surrender till the 1970s.
Right.
So there was a big gathering in Japan this week where a bunch of people went to show their JPEGs, their apes or whatever, and they had a big LED screen that they were conducting the show from. And they used UV lights for this thing. And a bunch of the attendees had to go to the hospital with burned retinas because they were essentially looking at the sun for half a day.
Right. I mean, why is it even an option to use UV lights for that type of display? And why would you do that in the first place? Really makes the apes pop? Is that what it was? Like the color of the apes really, you can't really appreciate the artistry on display if you don't have UV light set up or something. I had no idea this was even still a thing, frankly.
This whole thing collapsed so fast. I can't believe anyone still thinks has any merit to it. The leading face of progressive face of crypto, if there is such a thing, Sam Bankman-Fried's not going to spend most of the rest of his life in prison as of last week. So all these people are just, I'm not sure what planet they're on. But speaking of our hilarious and deadly dystopia, let me read this headline to you. How Israel shot down a ballistic missile in space for the first time. So we had our first space war.
Nice.
Space battle.
Yeah.
And against all odds, Yemen was involved. The Houthi rebels in Yemen launched a missile at Israel that Israel shot down from space. And if you want to know one of the reasons we need a fucking ceasefire on this thing, so this shit doesn't keep spiraling out of control, is we have a space war with Yemen going on. If you'd give me 1,000 guesses for who was involved in the first ever space battle, I probably would have guessed Luxembourg before Yemen. Madagascar? I don't fucking know.
How'd the Houthi rebels in Yemen even get a rocket into space? Like, is it
Iran?
That's where rocket technology is at now. It's more accessible, these space rockets. Yeah. I've been waiting
Elon Musk and the Houthis over there just fucking getting. It's like you know how Tony Stark built the first Iron Man suit in a cave in the dark
with a box of scraps. Yeah, famously, everybody knows it. When I used to work for the DOE, I did interagency agreements, so like little mini contracts between the DOE and other agencies. And I remember getting one on my desk one time that was the something like blank and space warfare center. And I remember being like, fucking space warfare. This is like 2011 or whatever. I had no idea that that was even on the dock. It's way before Space Force. And
Yeah.
I got pretty fired up. I don't know what those people were doing at that. There's so many like little agencies that people don't even know exist. They're like tiny and super obscure and whatnot all across the various uh,
Yeah.
larger departments and whatnot.
I
So
think I might have mentioned this in the show before, but one of my old day jobs, yeah, I worked for an executive headhunter firm here in Los Angeles for when I first moved here before I got into TV writing. And you read these resumes from execs all day, and it's like a guy who worked for defense contractors who used to be in the Navy, and he had the coolest job title I've ever heard in my life. It was a U.S. Pacific Fleet Dolphin Commander, and I was
nice.
like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
want to be a
saw
Dolphin Commander.
this isn't as badass, but I remember seeing in an article once about like some fast food expose or something. They had a response from McDonald's vice president of cheeseburgers, and that was always one of my. That's
Hell
a
yeah.
dream job right there. Yeah, that's you got to be in the C-suite, buddy. Might as well be the VP of cheeseburgers.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Producer Matt is with us as always. We'll be joined later by Travis Irvine, longtime denizen of the Skewniverse, certified politics junkie, and Ohio boy. You may remember him from a few weeks ago when Mark was out. I say a few, not that long ago. Travis sat in for Mark. He'll be back tonight to talk about Ohio and the other results with us a little later. Before we continue, though, I do need to let you know a few items of business as usual. Number one, if you'd like to see me perform live, go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out the upcoming dates, get your tickets. I know I say this every week, but we are literally currently in the process of adding those 2024 dates to the website. But the rest of this year, I got Chicago, San Francisco, Northwest Arkansas, and Nashville, Tennessee. Homecoming shows at Zany's, Christmas time, always fun. I'll be with Corey and Drew, as per usual, in Nashville. But wherever you're at, come and see me, TreyCrowder.com. Also on the website, there's a link to me and Corey's book, Round Here and Over Yonder. It's a comedic travel guide, very funny. We're pretty proud of it, and we think it's a laugh riot. If you want to get the full experience, you also can get on Audible and get the audio book, which is read by us two idiots. So it's fun. And lastly, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon and type my name in there. You'll find it either way. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We got one coming up this week. In fact, we do 2 of them a month, and we cover things that happen in between shows or things we didn't get to, or just whatever we want to talk about. It's a lot of fun. Get some more Skews in your life and support the show in the process. All right. With that said, like I already mentioned, tonight's primary subject matter is going to be keeping track of these various off-year elections that are going on, some of which are vitally important. Every American election is important, guys. Let's be honest. But before we get to all that, and before we welcome Travis Irvine to the show, let's do the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, anybody who doesn't think Eric Trump could be right about something exactly one time. Let's see here.
United States of And it's sad that this is the United States of America. And right now, make no mistake about it, maybe through your very lenses, the entire world is watching this and they're laughing about what's going on. It's sad.
Yeah. Show me the lie. Keeping it 100, Eric Trump.
Yeah. So he's standing in front of a court building in New York where Donald Trump testified this week. This is in his, civil fraud trial where he might have to pay, I don't know, quarter of $1 billion in penalties and not be able to operate his business anymore. And it was an absolute fucking farce. I mean that even by Trump standards.
Yeah.
Like the judge had to yell at him repeatedly to stay on topic because he was just like doing his rally speeches from the witness stand and not answering any questions he was asked. Let me give you some sample quotes. I'm not a windmill person. Yeah, we know.
We all know that he hates windmills, dude. They kill birds, famously.
Yeah, he did. He did another speech this week about women. I didn't want to use a clip of it because we've covered it enough. But he's still on the windmill thing. Another line from Trump said on the witness stand pertaining to nothing. I have a castle, which is an awesome flex. I wish I had a castle, but but his lawyer didn't even bother cross-examining him. They just let their prosecutor rip him apart and then fucking walked away. His lawyer said, in 33 years, I've never had a witness testify better. An absolute brilliant performance by President Trump. He's not backing. Like, why would you say this? You have to work again as a lawyer, in theory.
I don't understand. Well, I mean, whatever. I mean, law done, but getting him up there in the first place, but also just it seems odd to me to just let him just only get grilled by the state or the prosecution or whatever, and then just leave it at that. Let him go on this nonsensical diatribe for however long it took and get made fun of across the internet and just not offer any sort of rebuttal legally or
Right.
whatnot. This is the one that's the one that has to do with him artificially inflating the value of things
Right.
over the years and lying about how much money he had or how
You
much worth his properties had to screw people
you
over investment
you
wise.
gotta understand that from their perspective, this whole thing's a fucking farce in another direction. It's a setup because yeah, he elevated to get better loan terms. He inflated the value of his properties, right, to be better loan rates and more money from the banks. The banks profited off the deal, right? So they're thinking, how could I have defrauded somebody who made money off of it? I didn't
Mhm.
steal from them. I made money for them.
Right.
But here's the thing. Martin Shkreli went to jail for the same thing. He lied to his investors that he made money for about what he was investing their money in and still went to prison. You cannot lie to people. If I steal $100 from your wallet and go bet it on a horse and the horse comes in 40 to 1 and I put $1,000 back in your wallet, I still stole $100 from you. And
Right.
that's the judge ruled. That's why the judge ruled off the top. They're guilty and they're just haggling over how much the penalty is going to be. So like, so like they're frustrated with this whole thing because they don't understand like that you can't rob people even if you leave them better off. But
The penalty, again, sorry, I'm so law dumb. This is a civil fraud trial. The penalty goes to who? Like
the
the
state,
state? Okay, so
yeah,
he's not being sued by these financial institutions or whatever.
no,
Yeah,
and
okay.
and like Deutsche Bank and stuff has like basically been on the record saying that he was just too rich of a client for us. We knew he was defrauding us,
Right.
but we made so much money off of him we couldn't say no. And then once he was president, they couldn't call in their loans even when he was defaulting on them because you don't call it a mark on the president of the United States when you're an international financial company. So, but I was trying to figure out what my favorite exchange from this court proceeding was. It was either between this one where the prosecutor says, "Did you get copies of statements in 2021?" Trump said, "I was so busy in the White House with China, Russia, and keeping the country." Prosecutor, you were not the president in 2021.
Yeah. This one went kind of viral. This exchange, I saw it all over Twitter earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one just talking about Scotland, he goes, Aberdeen is the oil capital of Europe. Very rich, Trump says, at which point the judge interjects, irrelevant. And then Trump goes softly, it is.
It is, though. Yeah. Okay, fine, but it is. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, all these trials, you just an absolute gold mine of stupid quips. You know what I mean? Like as we go through them, like there's going to be more than you could ever keep up with. I'm sure. Anytime he speaks in court, you're gonna get some wild ass shit like this. So at least
not even
that.
in court. The same speech I was talking about where he talked about windmills again in the Wales, he basically confessed to obstruction of justice on like live on camera. And I'm like, how the fuck, dude? How the fuck?
Right. I do admire his dogged dedication to committing most of his crimes in front of the whole world,
That's the secret.
And still, right. Yeah, right.
That's the secret.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's so brazen or whatever. It's like, well, it can't be, he can't actually be breaking laws or whatever. Who would be dumb enough to just do it on Fox News or, not in front of millions of people? But yeah. He do though. All right. Our honorable mention for Daily Dumbass: people who don't think it's perfectly normal to share your porn history with your kid. This is some wild shit here. MAGA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, shares a little TMI here.
With covenant eyes within your home. And so why is that such an effective tool? Why do parents need to put this into their home?
Yeah, that's a great question. We probably could have called this more appropriately a war on the darkness of technology, because there are some good things with technology, of course. I mean, the Bible apps we all love, we broadcast our services, on our social media, and there's some very positive things, but there's also, as Clint's pointed out aptly, some really dark things. So Covenant Eyes is the software that we've been using a long time in our household. I first learned about it at, I think, a Promise Keepers event in the early 2000s. I think it was developed in about the year 2000. But it's the largest accountability software that there is, and there's some paperwork out there on the table that I think everybody may have picked up on the way in. If not, go get it. It's a subscription-based. I mean, we don't make any money on this. I'm telling you, we use it. Okay, I'm endorsing it because I'm a user. It's about $15 a month, $16 a month, something like that. And you get up to 10 devices. And what it is, it's accountability software. So men in a church, men's Bible study groups will do it. That's how it's presented at Promise Keepers. But they also mention, hey, when your kids become teenagers, especially if you have boys, dads, they're talking to the guys at this event, you might want to think about doing this with your sons. And so we've been doing that. And so what it does real simply is it has an algorithm and software. It's way above my head how it works, but it scans, you obviously opt into it, but it scans all the activity on your phone or your devices, your laptop, tablet, what have you. We do all of it. And then it sends a report to your accountability partner. So my accountability partner right now is Jack, my son, right?
All right, you cut him out.
So he and I get a report.
If there's anything objectionable that comes up on that report, then it gets reported to your accountability part. Dude, this 17-year-old is like fucking hacking into the mainframe watching porn. He's like doing Matrix level hacking shit, having to circumvent this stuff. So, he might have a future in cybersecurity or something, because he's definitely getting put through the ringer at this stage.
Right.
It ain't like he's not watching porn. I don't give a fuck what Covenant Eyes says. He's figuring something out. But yeah, this is nuts. Dude.
I was trying to figure out, like, if my dad got a text alert every time I jerked off, like teenage me jerked off, I would went through all of his data, like his phone.
His battery explodes. Yeah, right. Yeah, dude, no, this kid is going to be like, he's definitely going to be, getting tied up and pissed on in a few years or something like that. Because I feel like anytime like this, like level of repression or whatever, I'm sure you did too. I went to school with kids who were like super, super strict Christian households or whatnot. And then, at least a couple I can think of, then they they go to college, they get out of the house or whatnot and just lose their goddamn minds, just go wild as fuck.
Speaking of the repression levels here, another notable user of Covenant Eyes was Josh Duggar, who ended up in prison for a bunch of different sex crimes with children and adults and child porn and shit. So I'm going to say that it doesn't work. But I was trying to think of which way is more disturbing, because like the dad getting the son's jerk off history is bad enough, but imagine you're the son, you're hanging out with your boys, and you get a notification on your phone that says, "Sorry boys, I gotta go. My dad's talking his baby."
My dad's checking off right now. I gotta go join him in prayer, absolve him of these sins, because he's looking at MILF porn again.
It's also like if I'm a foreign intelligence service right now, my first thought is I gotta buy Covenant Eyes.
Right, dude. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that part too. Like willingly just giving it access to, like, I thought that was like a big deal nowadays for people. You know what I mean? Like protecting your data and whatnot, and just like you're just giving this third party company or software access to literally everything you do across every device, your entire digital footprint, and your whole families too.
Yeah.
Wild, dude. But it's in all in the name of the Lord. So
I went and looked at their website, and most of it's pretty straightforward device. Like you might have a porn. It's like a very Jeff Foxworthy bit. Like you might have a porn looking at problem if you're paying for a lot of porn. I have to agree with that. If you're paying for a lot of porn, you probably do have a problem, considering how much is just fucking free. But like, I understand it's got to be a parental problem, like ubiquity of porn now. And like, I don't have kids, so it's not something like occurred to me. But like, what do you? You obviously have to tell kids like real sex isn't like this. It's like, I mean, have you geared up your speech yet?
No. I'm living in denial as far as that goes. My oldest son just turned 12. It's like, so I mean, it's like right around the corner, and I'm having trouble with it. Not just that part. I just can't believe that I'm already here, that my sons are about to be fucking teenagers and in puberty and all that shit. I feel like I'm not ready for it. Like, but here we go, especially in the modern era. But what are you going to do?
Another thing about Mike Johnson, real quick, he's never been through the fire before. So like all this Apple research is coming out. Like a CNN investigation into his work pushing conversion therapy dug up another clip where Mike Johnson said that Rome fell because they condone homosexuality.
Yeah, or you know what, Mark? Like maybe Rome prospered because of all the butt fucking. Anybody ever think about that? Like,
they were a 2,000-year empire. That's what I'm saying.
You're just going to use the ending to make that determination. What about the 2,000 years of hitting real hard they did while also butt fucking? That like, it could easily go the other way. I feel like it's easier to make that argument,
But the 2,000-year empire, and by the way, they were hella gay the whole time. And like
Yes.
it wasn't that they weren't weird about sex, they were just weird about sex in different ways. Like basically their ideas of masculinity weren't wrapped up in who they had sex with, but they did have rules. Like it was like prison rules where as long as you were the one pitching and not catching, then you were good. Also,
Right.
like Rome didn't have any lesbians, because everyone wanted to have sex with men because men rule. The rules are basically like you could be gay but only down social status. Like you could have sex with slaves and other people's slaves. They gave you permission, right? But like,
Right.
there's just these people are so dumb and no understanding of history, not understanding like people like again that wasn't that people weren't weird about sex, but they were weird in different ways until like the British Empire made everyone prudish in their specific way at the end of a rifle. But like. The idea that Rome collapsed because of gay people is just like what? Just shut the fuck up, dude. I don't even know. Do we do we know if
Travis is here? Yes. Do you want to?
okay? I wanted to mention this real quick. This is a sad. We're talking about sexual repression, the Roman Empire and shit. So this Bubba Copeland, who was a mayor of Smith Station, Alabama, the pastor of a church there in Phoenix City, killed himself a few days ago, last week, after a local blog involuntarily outed him as a quote transgender woman, which I'm using quotes because I think he just cross-dressed, although he did write like erotic fan fiction where he was a woman. So I'm not sure how he would have identified himself. But I'm using he/him pronouns because what he used publicly, and he also renounced to she/her pronouns. That like he had to stand up in front of his church and try to say that he was still a good man. His wife knew, and he was like coming to God and all that stuff. This small town sex shame just sort of drives me crazy as a person from a small town.
Right.
He was a Republican, but not like as far as I can tell, like his issues were like local business stuff and trying to help people get jobs. Like he was on the school board. He was proud of like getting more computers in classrooms from an average of 1 to an average of 3. So like the tragic irony is here is like he was interviewed about his town's biggest problems, and he says the crime was down and the economy was good. The city's number one problem was suicides due to military service members coming back and social media bullying. He said, which looks different after how his life ended, and even after Bubba Copeland's death, people leaving hateful messages on his church's Facebook page.
Well, I was just about to say before you said I was going to be
Yeah.
like, I wonder how these people feel. Like went to his church, and it's a small town. They're in his community. He's been a pillar of the community for so long. They all know him. I bet a lot of them like loved him. If he's the pastor, he's probably relatively beloved, at least by a lot of people. And then I just wonder how they have been feeling now that this has happened. Like, is there any sort of sense of like,
we went too
guilt
far
on their part? Yeah, right. Or but then you said like, no, they're on his even after he's dead, they're on his Facebook page calling him slurs or whatever.
I went and read the original blog that outed him, and there was nothing. The language in it wasn't hateful or judgmental. It was just like, oh, by the way, the mayor has a private Instagram page where he dresses like a woman.
Yeah,
and it was just like that was enough to like rile up the mob. And anyway, my point is like in 1,000 years, when somebody's writing the story about the decline of our empire, and some idiot like Mike Johnson will be saying it's because of people like Bubba Copeland, when in reality it's because of people like fucking Mike Johnson, and fuck him. So anyway, R.I.P. Bubba.
Right. With that said, we'll get into the election talk with the one and only Travis Irvine. Bring him in here, Matt. Y'all know him. You love him. Ohio boy, politics junkie, graduate of Columbia Journalism School, or however you say that, filmmaker, and vagabond extraordinaire. Travis Irvine, what's up, buddy?
What's up, y'all? We're getting ready to party.
Yeah,
we're getting ready to party because things are looking good in Ohio, folks. I just want to get
what's the latest there, Travis?
We got some numbers. We got some numbers coming in now. Here's the thing, right? You all know from election nights, we've all lived through way too many of them at this point. But it's always going to start out with early voting, right? So your early voting, I'm going to take off my America glasses, keep on the nerd glasses here because now we're talking numbers. And the numbers are looking fantastic right now for Ohio for early vote, but that's early vote. Democrats are always voting early, more so than Republicans. So your early vote totals are always going to be more skewed towards the Democrats. See what I did there? And so we're looking at 836,000 votes counted as of now. Now, that is, again, that's only like 2% of actual election day precincts reporting. So this is mostly if not all, 98% early vote totals. But right now, abortion rights are looking to pass in Ohio by 63% to 36%. So that's 63% in favor of abortion rights. That's yes on issue 1 in Ohio as of now, with early vote totals. And for legal weed, come on, baby, give me the sweet combo of both. 56% to 43% passing right now. So these numbers right now, it's looking very good early vote for both legal abortion rights, reproductive rights, and as well as legal marijuana rights. But again, what happens is the election day numbers come in and more Republicans vote on election day. These margins are going to narrow a bit, but then they're going to expand again, because once they start counting the actual populous counties in Ohio, which is your Cuyahogas, Cleveland, Hamilton, and Cincinnati, Franklin, as Columbus. Once those all get to be counted in mass, then that adds to the margin again. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But I mean, I think you've already seen there in Kentucky, Andy Bashir, they're already calling it for him there. So it could be a good election night. Could be good looking forward too to 2024.
Right. Everybody and all you Buckeyes out there, feel free to get high and pregnant tonight. So
I'm gonna.
Something I found incredible. By the way, I sent you a picture, Trey. After you told me Irvine was going to come on tonight, I ran into him at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And he was wearing American flag glasses and a Bernie T-shirt. They still got him on, and I was like, he's optimistic. So something I found encouraging before today is last night the anti-abortion movement was already started messaging to preempt losses today. Here's a quote from the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, which the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America being a dude is funny to me. We've never been good at a state level. We have a very diverse country. It makes sense that each state deciding what to do about abortion will be a cumbersome process with fits and starts. So that's he's already excuse making. I want to talk about my home state of Virginia real quick. The whole legislature's up. Glenn Youngkin, the Republican governor of Virginia, managed to raise $34 million, which is the most in history for a state legislature race. And they even spent more through PACs. Then Democrats responded by raising a bunch more money. And I think they even beat him. But I was a bit nervous coming into today because as of November 2nd, a couple days ago, early voting was about 50% of where it was in 2021. We had the governor's election. So I was like, are people really not fired up to vote? But of course, there's same day voter registration stuff in Virginia now, I think. So a lot of college kids are voting. I don't really know how it's going to go. There are a couple of races I was keeping an eye on, and I'll check the results of these in a minute. 24th District is an incumbent Senator Monty Mason's Democrat up against a guy named Danny Diggs. Diggs is a former sheriff, longtime sheriff in the area. He marched along Proud Boys at a gun rights rally where they took a guillotine to the state capitol, because that's what you do nowadays. He attended a John Birch Society event in 2015, 40 years after the John Birch Society was the villain in a Charlie Daniels song. He defended one of his deputies who wore blackface on Halloween. She dressed up as a local state legislator. I don't fucking know. He also, at his retirement party from the sheriff's office, he joked about unsolved rapes. He was talking about how special it was to meet people years after he'd helped solve their case. And he said, it must have been 30 years ago. We solved a rape case. The lady saw me a few years ago. She remembered me and remembered we had solved her case and how much that meant to her, how much it was able to help her get her life together and move on. Then he joked to his successor, Ron Montgomery, was that the only one we ever solved?
Jesus Christ, dude. In front of the lady?
Yes.
Like, my God, bro.
No, I don't mean in front of the public. I don't know if that lady was there, but
so he was telling the story about that and then made the joke. Okay.
Right. So right now, Monty Mason's up 51.5 to 48.5. Hope that 61% counted. Some other races, they were important here. There were swing races. The Republicans winning in the 31st district, which isn't great. And in the 16th district was another swing when the Democrats up by 4 points with 55% counted. So it's looking like Democrats might hold the Senate. Remember the stakes here, Republicans are probably going to hold the House, and they have the governorship. So if they take the Senate, they're going to pass the 15-week abortion ban. So back to Ohio. I was looking at some exit poll stuff earlier, Travis, and shocked to see that a majority of Ohio voters think abortion should be legal. You guys literally just voted on this kind of a couple months ago,
Mhm.
Right.
and just made everybody do it again. And the messaging around this was insane. We talked before about trying to make it a parents' rights issue, and to this point, a guy named Bernie Moreno, who's running against Sherrod Brown for the U.S. Senate, said that the ballot measure would let a rapist force a woman to get an abortion. Specifically said that if this passed, his daughter's rapists will be able to force them to get abortions. And I don't know quite how his brain got there. Do you have? Is there logic to this?
No, I mean, Bernie Moreno is another one of these never Trumpers like J.D. Vance, who then became very, very pro-Trump. So no, of course, none of the mental gymnastics that he's going to try to do on this issue or any issue makes any sense. And he's also going to be in a contentious Republican primary, by the way, before he gets to the final round against Sherrod Brown next year for Senate. So, but you're absolutely right, Mark. This is what they've done. The anti-issue one people, the anti-abortion people, their messaging is all over the place now, especially these last few weeks, because poll after poll, including their own pollsters, have showed them that issue 1 was going to pass overwhelmingly. It reminds me of Trey's bit that he was doing when we were on the road to Ohio, when he was referencing that August election you were talking about whether or not Ohioans want to vote, about whether or not our vote means shit or not. And we're going to go ahead and vote, say that I do want my vote to mean shit. That's kind of what we're looking at tonight too. Right? Anyone who has a woman in their life, whether it's a niece or a sister or a mom, a grandma, an aunt, whatever it is, women's rights at the end of the day is one of these issues that's going to transcend past partisan politics, right? And we're going to see that tonight. We saw that in August too, right? A lot of rural red counties still voted no on that issue 1, meaning they want to protect our constitutional votes, as opposed to now when they're voting yes on issue 1 and they actually want to protect reproductive rights. So you're absolutely right, Mark, that they intend to confuse with their messaging because that's the only way they can win on an issue like this.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But they say GOP stands for gaslight, obstruct, project, and whatever. They excel at projection and everything. Like in fact, a lot of in some of these states where they pass these super restrictive abortion bans and stuff, like the opposite holds true, right? Where like if a woman is raped and has to carry the kid to term or whatnot, and it like allowed the rapist family to sue her if she went somewhere else and got an abortion, or that like those types of provisions in these laws have come up before. So it's like they're taking things that are bad about what they're trying to do and then just saying that those bad things are what what the left is trying to do or whatnot, which they do that all the time.
I do want to say, as a dirtbag dude, like the way these things are winning overwhelmingly, like obviously some women are pro-life, right? So this is like dudes are voting for this too, and because it's also about men's freedom. Like a woman's going to make the decision, but we all know how relationships work. You're going to talk through stuff, right, and decide what's best for you as a couple, or like where you're at in your life and all this kind of stuff. So it's not the woman's ultimately has the right to make whatever decision she's going to make, but we've been in relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like men are affected by these decisions as well, and they're also voting for women to have rights, so men can also be more free.
Well, dude, I've always thought that like it's wild that as many dudes just knowing how dirtbaggy and shitty most men are, how we're just animals and all this shit and have terrible decision making and are afraid of commitment and all of those things. It's always been wild to me that there's as many like pro-life or anti-choice dudes as there are, because you'd think they'd want to be able to pull that card if they need to and pay for an abortion or whatever, because they don't want to be responsible for shit. But I know it's like it's about like controlling women and that whole type of thing, and also like they know that they can just sort of fuck off if they want to anyway or whatever.
Right.
There's a bunch of reasons why that doesn't hold true, but it's always been kind of funny to me.
The ones in the state legislature and in Congress are rich though, so like they're always going to be able to get their mistresses abortions.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Like it's like literally doesn't affect them at all, which is one of the reasons they vote the way they do. I'm sure some of them are true believers, but like Roy Wood had a great joke at the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner the other night about the way to make all this make sense. It'd be like the Congress people, if you get your mistress pregnant in D.C., she has to follow the rules back in your own district. Right. And I was like, yeah, it's basically how you have to fix this problem. There's also, because exit polls, they ask everything. There's another exit poll in Ohio. Ohio voters say Biden and Trump shouldn't run in 2024. 7 out of 10 Ohio voters say don't think Biden should be running for another term, and 64% think Trump shouldn't run. Now, I'm not going to parse the 8% difference between 72 versus 64 because, like, basically voters are saying neither of these motherfuckers, but they're going to get both of these motherfuckers. And did you guys see that poll that came out this weekend? They had Biden losing Trump in a landslide.
No.
Yeah.
It was talked about today in a meeting I had, and how scary that is for a lot of people. But I agree with you. I mean, even I can't believe we are at this point. I think I pointed that out last time I came on the show, was that this is the first time in over 100 years that we'll have two of the same presidential candidates running against each other in a consecutive presidential election. The last time was William Jennings Bryan and William McKinley, who ran against each other in 1896 and 1900.
Very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, you all remember the contentious.
Yes.
Absolutely. Very contentious years. The McKinley Bryan years, those campaigns. But, that's, again, just it highlights how unexcited people are right now about this entire situation, right? Whether it's a Democrat who doesn't like Biden or a Republican who doesn't like Trump, and it's going to be those two guys again. I think you're going to mass checking out, which is going to be a problem more so for Democrats.
Right.
They need people to show up next year.
So I just want to ask what you guys, each of you, thinks about like the whole, because we've talked about before on the show, Mark, about the various polls that show that just the Biden administration gets no credit for the things that they actually do. And I know, I'm not saying Biden has absolutely crushed it or whatnot, but like, I just wonder how it's like the book has already been written on him and it doesn't even matter what he like actually is able to accomplish. Cause like, I just feel like legislatively or whatever, he's not done that bad. He's gotten some shit done, some pro-labor stuff and the IRA and all this shit, but he just gets zero credit for any of it. Or does none of that even matter because he's ancient and boring and he has gaffes and all this stuff
People were trying to figure out this poll because the result, first of all, it's a year away. And at this point, Obama was losing to Romney in 2012. And polls also said, but people were also saying they didn't like either Obama or Romney. And I'm not sure, in a two-party system where the party nominates the person, I'm not sure we'll ever have an election where people are happy with their choices.
Right.
And I'm not sure. Maybe we have a national jungle primary where everybody who wants to sign up to run could run and we get a president who got 4,000 votes nationwide. I don't know. But it's just to me, the biggest bone of Biden administration has been the sort of clumsy way they're dealing with Israel and Gaza right now in a way that I'm not sure anybody is happy with. But I'm not sure the economic polling in this was astounding to me because people think Trump handled the economy better than Biden by 20 some points.
Right.
And I'm but they did mail us free money during COVID. But if you don't mean that, what do you mean? We talked about inflation a lot, Travis. And it's in that poll, people said they're mad about prices going up. And then they ask about their income. They go, oh yeah, my income's gone up more too. And then basically people just get mad about prices being higher, even if they have more money. It's there's this religious belief among Americans that sandwiches should be $5.
Mm-hmm. Foot long sandwiches.
Right.
It's lunch should be $5.
Yes.
If lunch isn't $5, the president should make lunch $5. And rent is fucking awful. My rent, Travis and I talked about it on the bus today. We saw each other. My rent's gone up $1,000 in the past 4 years. It's year over year 9-10%. They tried to raise it 15% one year. That's unsustainable. But I don't have a specific lever Biden should do to fix that, other than sends Delta Force to execute my landlord. All for it. Other than that, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure what people want.
What do you think about all that, Travis? About the perception of Biden and just these polls we were just talking about?
Yeah, I was just on a Zoom with my friends from Blue, Ohio. It's David Pepper is the former Ohio Democratic Party chairman. He started this group, Blue, Ohio. And that's what they were talking about for next year, right? Because, again, here we are in an odd election year, 2023. You always got Virginia, Kentucky, and New Jersey. They do all their statewide elections in these odd years. But otherwise, it's really just, again, this big Ohio abortion rights vote and the big Pennsylvania state Supreme Court race that's happening over there. Democrat, who obviously is pro-choice, versus a very crazy anti-abortion Republican. But all of this is spelling out what's going to happen next year, right? In 2024. And that's what they were talking about in the Blue Ohio group, is how the messaging behind Biden, they gotta start getting that out there, because you're right. They're starting to see that people don't realize all the stuff that Biden has done, just from an objective president who gets shit done standpoint. Right. I mean, even that should be their message going forward. So yeah, they got to turn around the messaging. That's what's because Mark's right. Someone's sitting at their lunch, like, hey, this lunch is $7 instead of $5. They're going to try to vote the bums out, and that's kind of the big problem facing the Biden campaign next year.
Right, and they as far as the prices stuff, like. Do Americans want like a Soviet-style command economy with absolute price controls? Because I can't figure out the stuff they can do. Like Biden tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, right, to get gas prices down, probably affected at 30 cents a gallon. Like capped insulin at $35 or whatever it was. Like it should be more, but Medicare can negotiate drug prices now. They tried. Like without congressional cooperation, they can't do a lot more. And the problem in Congress is the other party. Trump's going to cut rich people's taxes. Mm-hmm. That's right. Not going to help you. I don't know what the people want. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's a low information voter problem. And also, like, it's not really a low information voter because there's so much information now. It's like, people don't know what to believe,
Right. Well, and that's, even this year, like, can Democrats carry this after the big post-Roe decision last summer, right? They were able to kind of claw back what they were going to lose in the midterms in 2022. You can see it's going to help them directly when it comes to abortion on the ballot, like it was in Ohio or Kansas or Kentucky. They obviously win big there. So the real big question, not just on Biden's record, but can they keep this train rolling in a post, Roe world where you're going to see the abortion rights on the ballot in a lot more states next year as part of an overall nationwide strategy.
Yeah. Sorry, you talk for a minute, Trey. I'm trying to look at some results real quick.
Yeah, well, it's just like in terms of the messaging and polling about Biden and what he's done and whatnot. There was some huge poll. I know we talked about it on here a few weeks ago now, but this like expansive poll about economics issues specifically. And it's like when it comes to inflation and gas prices and all that type of stuff, like it annoys me, but like I understand, like I fully understand why people are like, have you seen how much shit costs? Like, don't tell me things are super great when rent is this high and fucking eggs are this high and all this stuff. Like, I understand that because it pisses me off too. But even though that I understand that that's not fair to like blame Biden for all those things, like I sort of get it. But they also like even on things that are just like objectively untrue, like unemployment and that type of thing, like where. Mm-hmm. Things are good and Biden administration has done well. They still, like I said, Mark said, it's like a 20-point gap between how they think Republicans or Trump administration would deal with that versus how Biden has dealt with it. So it's like reality just has no bearing on how people perceive the success of this administration. And I don't know what you do about that.
No, by the way, no one's saying life is perfect. Like one of the reasons unemployment rate is so low is because people are working like gig jobs. They'd rather not be working. But like the way to get from a bad economy to a good economy is to get to a better economy first. Right. It's a step-by-step process. The American economy is doing so much better post-COVID than the other G7 countries. Right. It's like I'm not sure, like, people understand we're still under, there could be, like, centuries-long ramifications from COVID and what it did to, like, the economy and supply chains and people's way of living and the things they prioritized. And the economy hasn't shifted the way, it's not done shifting. And I don't know if people, like, I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating to me that, like, something happens, it's mildly discomforting, and we go, well, it's the president's fault. And they're like, well, no, we're halfway to fixing the problem.
Right.
And, like, we can't go the other direction now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying, man. I feel the same way. It is very frustrating. That's what I mean. It's like, and I don't, I don't know it's just, it makes you want to pull your hair out the way some people apparently, look at our political landscape or whatever. But also it's like, I get what, if you don't have to be a huge Biden fan, I understand, but it's just like, there's going to be two options, right? And one of them is true. And it's even, again, you hammer the whole point about how old Biden is and that type of thing. It's like, well, so is Trump, but Trump is also crazy and dumb, like on top of being old as fuck, So like,
By the way,
I don't know, man.
By the way, one last point on the Biden thing. Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, and J.B. Pritzker have all stood up national political groups. So if Biden falls off his bike, 3 people are like, eh?
Yeah.
It's a dog eat dog world out there, man. So yeah. Officially, Dave Wasserman, election expert guy, has called issue 1 for the abortion rights side. So that's
Woo! Come
Have a
on,
break, Travis.
y'all. All right, look at this. Here we go. We're ready.
OHIO, baby.
That's it. Look at this.
Good for yuns. How about that?
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's the thing. Eventually, they're so far ahead that it doesn't matter how many people voted during the election day. So this, again, that's kind of what people are pointing out, is that the margin, at least for issue 1, in terms of early vote, is already bigger than it was in August, right? And again, that was an early vote that was insurmountable for the Republicans at that point. So now, of course, I will be keeping an eye on my own pet project. Abortion rights, reproductive rights, very important. But marijuana rights, Lord knows we sure could use those in Ohio. So I will pour myself half of a shot in celebration of issue 1. Trey, I got a special funny bone glass that I grabbed from one of the shows out there.
Nice.
And I'll save the second shot for issue 2 till we know that one's a little more safer.
I'm a little curious about why this is, because I would thought it'd go the other way, but abortion's apparently more popular in Ohio than weed. It's right now, issue 1, abortion's winning 60.3 to 39.7, and legal weed's winning 55.7 to 44.3. But yeah, the way they do this projection stuff, it's like if the abortion rights side is winning 52-48 in a red ass county with most of the votes in, then he just it's like we don't have to wait to see anymore. Like we can project this out.
Yeah. And Dave Wasserman also called it early back in August. So I'm going to assume he's a sage or an oracle or something. He knows what he's talking about. And we're looking at over 1 million votes counted as of now. That includes early, and that includes about 8% of election day precincts reporting. One thing to note, Mark, that I'm seeing here on the Ohio Secretary of State's page, which is interesting, is that total votes cast in issue 1 on abortion rights, it's 1,017,000 that we're at counted so far. Whereas with issue 2 legal weed, it's 1,006,000. So about 10,000 people voted on issue 1, but left issue 2 blank. So that is something to look at too, that, maybe somebody went in, they're like, this issue 1's very important, but I don't know how I feel about legal weed. So that's something we've been seeing too, is that people are voting for one, but not the other.
Interesting.
The weed thing, I go back and forth on the weed thing. Well, first of all, also producer Matt, I just want to say, if you want to grab us some questions and comments, I know you're throwing them graphics up and everything, and I appreciate it. But yeah, you start throwing some of those our way. But the weed thing, part of me thinks like, I can't believe it's even that close. Like, meaning I thought it'd be more in favor, like a larger victory for people, because it's like I feel like it just feels so outmoded and archaic for someone to any kind of reefer madness shit persisting today amongst the populace. You feel like you don't see that, but then you're like, well, there's a lot of papaws out there and I'm not talking to them, so I don't know what they think. But then on the other hand, I'm not all that surprised, because I was just thinking about this earlier for a different reason. But I feel like so many people just like, if they don't dig weed personally themselves, and then fuck it, they could give a shit less, regardless of like how they feel about the rationale of or constitutionality of it, or whether it should be legal or not. You know what I mean? It's like if they don't do it, then they don't give a shit if anybody else gets to do it or not. I feel like it's like,
I just want to make the point here, like we're joking and stuff, but like the reason to legalize recreational weed isn't just so people can party. It's so people don't end up with criminal records that fuck up their entirety of their lives for committing a crime that most teenagers commit.
See, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like there are these very valid arguments for why it should be the case. And I'm saying I feel like a lot of people that just don't fuck with weed at all, they don't like think about or care about any of those parts. Do you know what I mean? They're just like, people don't need the wacky weed, and leave it at that. They don't like think critically about it, which I know, wild thing to say about our fellow Americans, but I believe it to be true. Deb Marsh says, thanks for showing up to vote, Ohio. Yep.
All right. I want to do.
Says, you're welcome, Deb. Liz Studenka says, I for once am not ashamed to be from Ohio.
Yeah.
Buddy, you guys got University of Michigan over a barrel over their sign stealing thing. You gotta be very
Yeah.
proud Ohioan right now.
All them astronauts too, baby. Which of course
Couple
that's the old joke about the Ohio astronauts is that's just how badly they wanted to get the fuck away from Ohio. Only the moon was far enough away. Yeah. Sorry, Mark. You've been trying to say something for like the past.
Oh
30
yeah,
seconds.
sorry. We'll get this
Cutting you
comment in a second. Update from Virginia. The three things that three races that analysts had flagged as key ones for Democrats holding control of the Senate and women getting to keep rights in Virginia. 31st district is leaning towards the Democrat, 51-49 with 86% counted. The 16th district has already been called for the Democrat. And 24th one, the one with Monty Mason running against racist sheriff from the 1960s, Danny Diggs. Diggs is fucking winning 50.7 to 49.3, only 55% in, but goddamn, I'm mad.
Oh no.
Yeah, Monty, you hear the name, like both those names are off the tongue. They're very alliterative or whatever. Like you need a double consonant name to take on a double consonant name. So at least they had that part figured out. And it's like M&M's or double D's. That's a hard choice,
Yeah.
But
So
I hope Monty Mason pulls it out.
Chilida, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong.
Yeah.
She said Ohio is not a 4-letter word today, and this is from a Michigonian. Yeah, but Monty Mason and Danny Diggs does sound like a tag team from 1986. It was
Absolutely.
like the Mason Digson
The
line
Mason
or something
Dixon
like
boys. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio still is a 4-letter word, but I hear you, Shalita.
Totally fair. In fact, we've got more numbers coming in. We're at 13% election day precincts reporting. So this is it. This is when that margin starts to narrow. We're looking at 60% for yes on issue 1, 40% no. But if we stay like this, like I said, if this is kind of where it stays, then those big counties in Ohio, your Cuyahogas, your Clevelands, your Cincinnatis, your Columbuses, those are going to push that margin back out. But this is where the margin shrinks. So
and this is
abortion rates are passing.
Yeah.
They're passing about 60-40 now, and marijuana rates are at 55-45. So if we stay in this area for the rest of the night, that's actually bodes pretty well for both.
And this is how you get Joe Biden to actually say the word abortion next year during the campaign, which he is loath to do. Which is like
that, and marijuana. I mean, he'd be great if you talked about both, but
Joe Biden's never going to be for legalizing marijuana, dude. He's a pro cop guy from the 80s. It's just like he's like he remembers punching hippies, dude. So
yeah, he did.
Will Tyson says abortion has been legal in Ohio, marijuana hasn't, so it makes sense abortion has more votes.
That makes sense. I hadn't thought about it that way. It's an interesting insight. The one's a change, one's a status quo, one's a change.
But as far as weed, I know we've said it before a million times, Mark. It just for the Biden administration, it just feels like it's just such a goddamn layup. I know you just said, "Hey, he's ancient, he's a papaw, he's pro cop, whatever." But it's like, come on, man. Like I just don't. Like I don't see the downside of it, and every little bit helps. You'd think. Sarah Egan Reeves says. But Frank LaRose, the Secretary of State, and the crooked State House will still try some dirty tricks to block the amendment. Oh, yeah. They got something up their sleeve.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the Blue Ohio folks were opining about. Obviously, if we win tonight, you want to take that victory. You want to run down the field with it as far as you can. But, yeah, we still have a very gerrymandered state legislature here. Now, with constitutional amendments, they can't just block it. But we also have a very Republican Supreme Court, that has 4 Republicans on it. 3 of them have publicly said that abortion is not a constitutional right. And they said that when we still had Roe v. Wade in effect. So sure, I'd be more scared of what the courts are going to do than Frank LaRose and the state legislature when it comes to the abortion amendment specifically, because that's going to be in the Constitution now going forward, as long as this all holds tonight. But yes, absolutely right. She's correct. The Republicans are really good at pulling shenanigans there in Ohio. So we just got to hope that they, hopefully see the writing on the wall that this issue is here to stay.
Honey Bunny for you on YouTube says, "Let's go women." Thank you, Gen Z. Honey Bunny, is that a Pulp Fiction reference? Just rewatched that on a plane, guys. One of my favorite movies of my youth, and I hadn't seen it in a few years and watched it again the other day. movie hit so hard. That's neither here nor there. But her name's Honey Bunny.
Yeah.
It made me think
And
of it.
that actress who played Honey Bunny, by the way, the IMDb credit is Honey Bunny. I did look it up recently for a job I was on. She's been making a comeback. She was in a couple things recently I saw. She's
Oh, is
killing it.
that
Good for her.
Amanda Plummer? Is that Amanda Plummer?
I don't remember her name.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave Wasserman's edging up to calling it for the Virginia Senate for the Democrats. So the forces of darkness and
Yeah, held at
may have
bay.
been forestalled.
Looking
Yeah.
Woo!
shaping up to be a pretty
Also-
good night. How about that?
We can say fuck off to Glenn Youngkin's presidential chances for a while at least. So that's good.
yeah,
Nice.
please. Absolutely.
Lauren Russell Pank says, hit that like button, folks. Thank you, Lauren. The viewers have to remind me every week, Travis, because I literally never think to say that. Yeah, do the internet stuff. Smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Rate and review. 5-star review. Tell your mom and them. We appreciate you watching. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for
And
the
the
heads
chat,
up.
the chat has spoken. It is Amanda Plummer. Absolutely. I was glad.
There you go.
I was right about that. I did get
Good
one thing
call.
wrong earlier, though, and some good folks here pointed out that Adlai Stevenson and Dwight D. Eisenhower also ran against each other twice for president
Ooh.
in 1952, 1956. So I stand corrected. My only fun fact to add to that is that Adlai Stevenson was the basis for the president in one of my favorite dark comedies ever, Dr.
Strangelove, yeah.
Yes, where they made the president Merkin Muffley, and they were just like, what if Adlai Stevenson had won and had to deal with a nuclear war? So that is the basis.
Travis, when's the last time you got corrected on a presidential fact? Huh? These people are
Tonight was
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
they're up to
I
it.
can't even remember the last time.
I'll go
I'm
ahead and
usually
say
the
right
nerd who's
now,
right.
if you guys are, if you're out there in the extended Skew universe, if you listen to our other podcasts out there, specifically Putting on Airs, this week on Putting on Airs, Travis is going to be dishing out presidential facts left and right. We're talking all things American presidents this week on Putting on Airs. I got a bunch of questions for him, so we're going to test the limits of his knowledge. Look at that, Matt, with a damn graphic. I didn't even know he had that.
Woo,
He's
look
on,
at that.
yeah, he's on top of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be out Friday. Anyway,
Not enough votes in Mississippi to talk about it really.
I saw. Did you? So it. What Presley? Brandon Presley? Is that Brandon Presley?
Elvis's cousin. I'm not joking. He's
cousin?
Elvis's cousin.
Yeah, right. I know you're not joking because I saw he tweeted earlier. It was like, God damn it! I wish I had it in front of me. It was something like, I got my blue suede shoes on here for election night. We're gonna fuck, whatever. Some other Elvis reference, and then with thank you very much. He crammed like 5 Elvis references. I was like, man, he's really riding that Elvis thing, which like, of course he is. Like, and I don't blame him, but I just thought it was funny. It's like, I wonder what Elvis would think of that, because he looked like a pretty standard, white Mississippi politician. Like he wasn't. It didn't appear to be a sex machine or nothing. But still,
you're saying they're not going to make a Boz Luhrmann movie about the governor of Mississippi if he
maybe
wins?
not.
Yeah.
Quick anecdote. I think maybe the single dumbest thing I've ever heard a redneck dipshit say in my life. We were in Memphis. Me and Kay and the boys, her sister used to live down there. We were in Memphis and we went to this like visitors center in Memphis. We just happened to stop there because my toddlers needed to pee, to use the bathroom and whatnot. She takes them in there, and in this big Memphis visitor center, front and center, as soon as you walk in, huge statue of Elvis Presley holding a guitar, looking super Elvis-y, right? I'm standing outside the bathroom waiting on them to come up, and I hear this like just a caricature of a redneck dumbass, right? Walks up with like his son, his like 13, 14-year-old son. He stands there and he goes, "Who's that douchebag?" And the 14-year-old goes, "I think that's Elvis, Daddy." And he goes, he blew a raspberry at the notion of Elvis in Memphis.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll never forget that as long as I live, I don't think. It's like, and that dude probably is voting tonight or well, he will be next year. He's presumably a Tennessean, one of my countrymen. But yeah. Never underestimate our capacity for idiocy in this country.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll talk about the fallout from this on Patreon episode and next week if Ohio Republicans start trying to ignore the will of voters once again. So
Yeah, right.
Travis, you got anything you want to let the people know about?
You know me, I love plugging the old flicks. We got American Mayor. This is about me running for mayor of my hometown. I was 24 years old, had white guy dreadlocks. Spoiler alert. Did not win, but you can check it out and see how just by running, you can also change the trajectory in your hometown. And of course, our good buddy Ed Larson, How America Killed My Mother, Trey and our buddy Drew Morgan are both a part of that movie as well. Always good to promote that one because Trump indirectly killed Ed's mom. I mean, Trump owned the casino where Ed's mom gambled away all her money. So the fact that Trump may be the candidate again just means this movie is still relevant as ever. So please check out the flicks. Beyond that, all I got is my little Ohio flag here, and I'm just going to keep waving it with pride. It's like today, Ohio is not a 4-letter word.
All right.
I would have sworn that was a Puerto Rican flag until you just told me.
That's what's so fun about it. Nobody actually knows.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you, Travis, and thank you all very quickly. Come see me live. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming dates. Chicago, I'll see you on Sunday at the Den Theater, and then everywhere else after that. Check out the book, Around Here and Over Yonder, by me and Corey, and support the show on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more. Go on Patreon and search for my name. $5 a month, full-length bonus episodes. A lot of fun. Support the show in the process. Main thing, you keep coming back every Skews Day. If you do, we will too. We'll see you in 7 days. Love you. Bye.